Greetings and welcome to Flanagan's Ecologic. I am your host, Ted Flanagan, and today I'm delighted to have Nigel Mason on the podcast. He is the director of the Mason Elephant Park, which is in Taro, Bali, in Indonesia. People call him the Elephant Man. Nigel, welcome to the podcast.
I've been good at a lot of things. The Elephant Man. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me, Ted. Look forward to talking to you about a few things.
Now, I'm dying to get into the elephants, but where were you born and raised?
Look, I was born a long, long way away from Bali. I was actually born in England in 1944, which was the last year of the war, as you probably know. And I lived there for a few years before going to Egypt for 4 years with my father, who was an army officer, and then back to England. Did a bit more education in England in boarding school before my father was murdered, which sort of destroyed my family. And I then decided to leave England forever and go to Australia. So I immigrated by myself at the age of 15 to Australia. And spent 25 odd years in Australia doing all sorts of things. You name it, I did it. I would run the country. I worked in sheep farms. I did kangaroo shooting. I was working timber mills. Finally ended up in sales in the city of Melbourne, which is right down in south of Australia. And then got into the music industry, EMI. Spent some years in that. And then finally ended up, my last job in Australia was managing a huge musical store called Brash's. And then finally I just got fed up with the rat race and on a whim threw it all in and went on a plane to Bali.
What a great story. Well, I'm sorry about your father, of course, but what a great story. You've been around, Mr. Mason,
quite a bit.
And then in Bali,
I'm the typical jack of all trades, master of none sort of thing. Did a bit of everything.
Well, and then Bali, you met your wife.
Yes, I've been there about 3 years before I met her.
And how did it come about that you got into the elephant rescue business? I mean, you must have been. Tell me that story. How did that come about?
It was a sort of a strange sort of series of coincidences. First of all, my wife and I opened a little restaurant together called Yanni's, which is her name, and was very successful. We specialize in Australian food, and it was a big hit in Australia because the food in Bali was often difficult for people to stomach. And they used to have this thing they called Bali belly, which everybody got. And Bali belly was really just caused by people's aversion to the oils and spices in Indonesian food. Not really. It wasn't that they were sick. It wasn't poison. It was just, Australian stomachs couldn't handle it. So our restaurant went off very well. It was very successful. Nice. But in 1989, I went there in 1980, by the way. In 1989, we started the first rafting company in Bali, which was really successful, very, very successful. And from that, we started doing other adventure activities. And we actually kick-started the whole adventure industry in the center of Ubud, in the Ubud area of Bali. And which is now a huge multi-million-dollar industry with masses and dozens of companies involved in it. And so the rafting sort of led into me discovering elephants. And Indonesia has its own unique elephant. It's called the Sumatran elephant, and it's critically endangered, only found on the island of Sumatra. And Sumatra is at war with the forest. There's more devastation there than anywhere in the world, including the Amazon. It's just a completely destroyed island. There's hardly any forest left. So all the animals that live there, and it's quite a diverse island. It not only has Sumatran elephants, it also has orangutans, Sumatran tiger, the beautiful gibbon monkey, and of course orangutans and the rhino, the unique rhino, where there's only about 40 of them left in the island. So
Really?
it's an island that really is under attack,
Yeah.
particularly from the oil palm industry.
Hmm.
And oil palm is a lot of corruption involved with the oil palm industry. Everybody's involved in it, including the army and God knows what else. So the poor old elephants
Yeah.
were in big trouble. And I went up there with my wife, and we saw this situation, and we realised that these elephants were being captured and put into camps to get them out of the way. You know, they were trouble,
Yeah.
according to people. So they just captured them and put them in these camps and chained them up 24 hours a day, and they were just
Yeah.
dying. I mean, they were living 3 to 5 years in these camps, and that was it.
When the
So I decided
normal lifespan would be what?
60 or 70 years.
Oh my God. Yeah. 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 So you
So
decided you
it was
decided
horrible.
you decided I'm gonna rescue these and I'm gonna transport what was it, 27 elephants, 1,700
Yeah,
kilometers to
yeah,
Bali?
yeah, that's right. And we did that in 3 different trips. And
Yeah.
the last trip was in 2004. And that was at the time of the Bali bomb, so it wasn't exactly good timing. But anyway, we started the park with no help from anybody. The government, we had to buy the elephants off the government. They didn't give them to us,
Oh, you
even
did.
though they technically own them because they're protected species and endangered species. And they sort of hang that over us every now and then. Oh, we own the elephants. They're our elephants. We can take them any time. But if they took them, they wouldn't know what to do with them, quite honestly, because Sumatra's a mess. There was when we first got into the elephants in 1997. There was still about 3,000 left in the wild. Today, 30 years later, there's well under 1,000.
Is that right? Oh my
So
gosh.
they're in big trouble. Big trouble.
Now, so you bought a piece of land in Taro, is it? On
In Taro,
Bali?
in Bali, yeah.
And how many acres, how many hectares did you
It's
purchase?
about 4.5 hectares.
Uh-huh.
It's big enough, but it's not huge, but it's big enough. And but what I did is I came up with a design that nobody'd ever done before to work together with the elephants. So we came up with this sort of design that allowed us to put this amount of elephants into that amount of land and still maintain their health. The biggest thing with elephants is they need a lot of exercise. You've got to
Yeah.
keep them walking and healthy. So, which comes to one of the big controversies with keeping
Yes.
elephants, and that is that particularly places like PETA have come up with all these arguments against people riding elephants. Saying, "Oh, it's very unhealthy for them, and it hurts them, and the training is brutal, and blah blah blah." Um, all of this is just total rubbish.
Yeah.
Elephants love riding. It's very healthy for them. It keeps them well exercised, and they emotionally they need to be doing things. That's what elephants love.
Yeah.
They're a complex creature. They have a very active brain, a very good memory, and they love to interact with people.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one of their favorite things. So
Isn't
the
that
more
something?
interaction with people, the happier and healthier they are. And we certainly have a very happy and healthy herd,
I,
even
I looked
though,
I looked at
yeah,
I looked at your video. It looks fantastic. And as what you were saying, that in terms of exercise, I think I read that normally in the wild they would be walking about 20 kilometers a day, foraging.
approximately 20 kilometers, yeah. Um,
And you've got them in your park, maybe doing about 7 kilometers a day. I mean, you're
yeah,
certainly
7 or 8 kilometers a day, which is
not
plenty.
overtaxing them by any stretch.
No, no, not at all. And then sometimes they only do 4 kilometers a day. We
Yeah.
try to give them as much as we can because that one of the biggest killers of pachyderms being thick-skinned animals, being rhinoceros and hippopotamus as well, is their feet. In zoos every year, there's more of these animals killed or euthanized because of their feet than anything else. Because once their feet go and
Yeah.
they can't stand, that's it. It's all over. They're a very heavy animal. Once they're down, they can't get up. they die within
And so
days.
I read
So
that you did something with your pathways or the areas where they live. It was some sort of a
yeah, true.
what did you do? It's not
Well,
dirt.
we concrete, as you know, when you put a concrete thing, then it's very hot. It gets very hot in the sun.
Yeah.
So what I did is I put concrete down, and then over the top of that, I put about a 10 to 12 centimeter layer of sandstone and mixed with cement. It's like a mixture of river sand, sandstone pieces, and a
Mm,
little bit of cement, which binds it. It makes quite a soft surface that can
yeah.
be, you can actually scratch it off with your nails, and it it recreates what would be the same in the wild for them. So it sort of rubs, it gives them enough, it's like a nail file. It
Yeah.
rubs their nails off, stops them getting too long, and
Yeah.
it's very healthy for their feet. Plus, the surface is quite cool. It doesn't get hot like concrete does. So
Yeah.
it's worked beautifully. It was just an idea I had at the time, and I just did it as an experiment, and it turned to be out to be perfect. So all
Great.
our paths, all around the park, and everything are all done in this service, and
So
it's brilliant.
let's go back. I want to hear a little bit about the trip from Sumatra to Bali, because I know you had. I saw pictures of the trucks. You're loading the elephants into these large trucks, and then I guess you had to shift them onto boats to come across waterways. How many
Yep.
days was that? How difficult was that? It sounds like
It was about 5 days. It was very difficult because Sumatra is quite a wild island, and the
yeah.
roads are terrible. They got huge potholes and broken roads, and also there's a lot of gangsters and bandits on the roads there too. So you've
Ah,
got to be really careful. So we had to bring armed guards with us, a truck full of armed guards
mm,
from the
mm,
forestry to give us a bit of protection. We never got attacked by anybody. I think when they saw us, they just avoided us. But was a hard trip. But the biggest problem of the trip was finding food and water along the
yeah.
way for the elephants.
Yeah.
Once we put the elephants on the trucks, you can't take them out off,
Yeah.
because once you put them on, if you take them off, they won't get back on again. So they don't like being on the trucks, obviously.
And they
So
need they need like 200 kilograms of food a day, right?
yeah,
Something
so
like
we
that.
had like
A lot.
one truck and one car going
Full of
ahead of
food.
us,
Yeah.
half a day ahead, and they just searched for food and water. And
Oh,
once we got to East Java, we crossed over from Sumatra to Java Island, and we got down into East Java. There was a massive drought on, so we had a lot of trouble finding water. In fact, one time I had to buy all the aqua in one particular town from every
oh,
single shop
oh,
just for the
no.
elephants. And it didn't even quench their thirst. So yeah, it was a very, very difficult trip.
And
Very
then
difficult.
you get to you've already purchased your land in Taro, I presume,
Yeah. Uh,
and you get there, and were there times, Nigel, where you're just thinking, "What did I get myself into here?"
many times I've thought that. I mean, we had the Bali bomb, two Bali bombs. We had COVID, where we were closed for 3 years. And
Yeah.
I had to borrow $2.5 million from the bank just to keep going,
Mm.
because the elephants had to keep alive. I'm still paying that off. Yeah, it was very difficult. At times I was nearly tore my hair out, but I never regretted it. I've always felt very positive about the elephants, and I really love them, and I've learned so much about elephants. I'm probably one of the world's experts on Sumatran elephants now,
I
but
bet you are.
um, it doesn't seem to help because the government seems to take little notice of that.
Well, I was curious about your relationship with the elephants, and I learned a new word getting ready to have this interview. Am I pronouncing this right? Mahout, which is
Mahout,
basically
yeah,
that's
that's
you have a trainer for
that's
each elephant, or
yeah, we call it a carer.
a
They
carer.
look after the elephant. They every morning they come to work. They
Yeah.
have to release their elephant because we tether them overnight, because otherwise they bite and they're just very destructive. And then they take them down. They wash them. They feed them, and they spend the whole day with them.
Yeah.
Which is a very, very close relationship. Most of them would say, "Oh, it's like my first wife." They take it very seriously. They love their animals.
And now I take
Yeah.
it you also have a relationship with these elephants.
Yes, but on a more wide range. I don't have a particular elephant. I love them all, but I very much take a lot of interest in each elephant, especially if one's sick. That I do get sick now and again, particularly stomach problems.
Yeah.
So yeah, I take it very seriously. I liaise with the vets and
Yep.
make sure that we keep. We've got a lot of experts, and we also deal with a company out of Thailand called ACES, which is Asian Captive Elephant Standards,
Yes.
who monitor us. They actually come to our park once a year and completely audit us to make sure that we're doing all the right things as far as elephant. Something like over 200 criteria we have to follow, and we're the only company in Indonesia that does that. So we're quite unique in that we follow all these
Oh, the
very strong standards that have been set down by this company, and it's you know it's important to know what you're doing. And these people taught us a hell of a lot, which we didn't know originally.
yeah.
We've been dealing with them for about 10 years now, and they've been fantastic.
And each elephant has a name, and I
Yep,
think you've had what, 4 or 5 or 6 even babies now since
we've had six
1997?
babies.
You
Yeah,
had 6,
six babies. Yeah,
and that must be hugely
the
exciting.
oldest now is I think is either 16 or 17 years old.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm.
Now, okay, so
So they're big babies.
you open up the park, you're feeding the elephants 200 kilograms of uh, tree leaves and fruits and vegetables a day, and
It's a
and
mix, a real mix. Yeah,
a lot of water, obviously. And then
yeah, a lot
and
of
then
water.
your plan right from the start to invite guests to come to
Well,
visit the
we have
park?
to. We had to. I mean, we have to raise enough income to
Yeah,
support the park. It's not cheap. It's quite
I
an
bet.
expensive thing to keep elephants. They eat 250 kilos of food a day, which has to be gathered by people, and we have to
Yeah,
buy it, and it's a lot of work and a lot of expense. So we have to have activities that people can do. So you can swim with the elephants, and you could ride the elephants, etc., etc. However,
yeah,
recently
yeah,
we got attacked by PETA
yeah,
out of America, and they did a huge number on the internet, and it just became viral about riding elephants. They're
yeah,
saying how terrible it is, etc., etc. Which we tried to say, and even ACEs who deal with us tried to say, like, this is rubbish. The elephants need exercise; it's an important part of their regime.
yeah,
And but it just got so viral, and they attacked me personally and my wife and our family, and then they started to attack all my other businesses, because I have a company called Mason Ventures, whereas we have a chocolate factory and a few other things than that. And they started to attack everything. So in the end, we just had to give in and say, right, okay, we'll stop riding, which we've done. So
yeah,
now at this moment, we're readapting the park to give other activities people to do, because the truth of the matter is our income has absolutely plummeted because of this, because
yeah,
people love to ride the elephants, and it was one of the most popular things to do. So we've now got to try and make other ways to replace that income, because at the moment I'm having to draw income out of my other companies just to
yeah.
keep the elephant bar going. And of course, we've got hundreds of employees. The last thing I want to do is start,
Laying them off.
dismissing your employees.
Now, what is it for? I want to ask both sides of this. What is the fascination of riding on an elephant? I've never done that, although I have been. I'm from New York. I used to go to the
I,
Bronx
I,
Zoo when I was a kid, and we would
it's
ride
it's
on the camels.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we ride all sorts of things in the world. We ride horses, camels,
Yeah, yeah,
donkeys, you name it. Nobody makes any fuss about any of that. It's
right.
only elephants that seem to upset people. And I mean, elephants are a very Asian thing. They're the horses of Asia, sort of thing. And they've been riding elephants for 5,000 to 6,000 years. It's nothing new about it. And the fascination is just that it's a nice feeling to ride an elephant. It's very
They're lumbering
slow when
along.
you sort of just lumber along. It's like, and it feels very nice to be up on top of such a huge creature and
Yeah,
interacting with it. And the mahout who's on the elephant with you is telling you all about the elephant,
yeah,
and explaining everything. So a very, very nice experience. However, there's a lot of confusion about it, and there have been a lot of lies and deception about elephant riding. One of the things they do is, I don't know if you know the difference between an Asian elephant and an African elephant. An Asian elephant has like a humped back,
Huh.
whereas an African elephant has a swayed back.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah. So what they do is they put pictures up on the internet showing an Asian elephant, yeah, with that, and then they
Yeah.
show people riding on an elephant, and then they show after it, underneath that, a picture of an African elephant to show that the back has been bent by the people riding it, which is total rubbish. They're two different species. You know, one's an African elephant, one's an Asian elephant. So it wasn't caused by that. You can't do that to an elephant. I mean, if an elephant couldn't take weight on its back, how could they mate? Yeah.
Okay.
When they mate, the male elephant, who weighs 6 bloody ton, climbs up on top of the elephant's back, on and off again. I mean, they'd break their back if their back was that weak. So it's just a very emotional thing that, and unfortunately, it's perpetuated mostly by a lot of very emotional people who are mainly of the female species for some reason. So that's
well, I think I read in your materials, or I did a little bit of homework. And by the way, I had no idea that it was 6 different kinds of elephants around the world. But one statistic that struck me was that when you put your chair, or whatever you call it, that goes on the back of the elephant, and the mahout is there, and then you put some passengers on, or some riders, that the weight is about 7% of the elephant's weight.
That's correct.
Whereas a horse, which is galloping along, might have 20, might be carrying 20%. So
that's right. And a horse's back is like that. You know, it's
concave to begin with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now why is it? I mean, as I read about this controversy and was doing a little preparing for our discussion, I'm reading that and going, now wait a second. Here's this guy, this Nigel Mason, out of the goodness of his heart, he goes and he rescues all these elephants, he brings them to Bali, gives them these idyllic living conditions, plenty of water, plenty of food, like you said, the paved paths that are really conducive to the health of their feet. Now, why don't your critics take a broader view and see what the goodness that you've brought to these elephants?
Look,
as opposed to just sort of jumping on this bandwagon that it's evil to ride elephants.
There is no explanation of that, in my opinion, any more than there's any explanation about anything that goes on today. I mean, we see people criticizing everything, and things become viral very quickly. And once they become viral, there's almost no stopping it. It's like a chain reaction goes off, and people just jump on it, and they just sit there tapping on their things, and just they join the club immediately and want to criticize. I think it's just the nature of people in this day and age. I think that since the invention of the internet, and particularly since everybody's got a computer in their hand now with a smartphone, I think it's just become a game that everybody joins. And I don't think they really think about what's right or wrong, or what's true or what's false, or even what's common sense. Because common sense often tells you something that you go, well, yeah, that sort of that makes sense. But people don't even do that anymore. They just join this thing, and it goes viral. And this is what happened here in Indonesia so quickly. It went viral, and it then becomes like an attack that you can't stop.
Right. Yeah. And now, isn't it true that the Indonesian government now has banned riding of elephants in these parks? I mean,
yes.
So, and this has all happened since December of last year. I mean,
it happened in a couple of days. The Director General of Forestry, not the Minister, but the Director General who is under the Minister, he just suddenly said, right, that's as of tomorrow, you can't ride elephants anymore. And we said, well, hang on a second, you have to give us a bit of notice. We've got to change things. It's our income to feed the elements is dependent on this at the moment. We can change things, but it'll take some time. It'll take a few months to reorganize it. Plus, we've got people turning up at the park every day who are coming to do activities with the elephants. So we have to give it time. And quite honestly, you should really do a little bit of research as well and talk to all the people who have elephants, including us, and find out what the true story is. Don't just go by people on TikTok. I mean, that's hardly research. Yeah.
Right.
But they did just like that.
What's the alternative? Leave them in Sumatra where they're going to die prematurely and be stuck in these containment.
Well, there was no discussion of that. Honestly, Ted, no discussion at all. There just was no discussion. They didn't even discuss it with the Balinese government. And I mean, this is a major tourism industry on this island. And I'm not the only company. There's 4 other places with elephants who are in exactly the same problem.
And you're all throwing up your hands saying this is completely illogical.
Well, I did, and I was the last one to capitulate because I really felt that we had done everything, and there was enormous argument against this, and it should be looked into rather than just a blanket decision made in a day without any proper research. So I got attacked more than anybody. I've now had to capitulate, and I must say at first a bit reluctantly, but now I've said, okay, well that's it, fine. It's the end of an era. We have to go along with it, and if this is the way it is, fine. I'll embrace it full on. But I'm now literally had to see my park, plummet to literally the minor numbers. At the moment, we've gone from 400 or 500 a day down to 30 or 40 people a day.
Oh no!
And this has, of course, affected our thing. We've had to put a lot of staff on annual leave, and that until we try and get this together. And we're now brought in a team of 50 to 60 workers to smash up stuff we've got and remodel and change things to do that. So we're now going to make it so people walk with the elephants rather than ride the elephants and that. So we've come up with an answer, but it'll take a few months.
Sure.
And unfortunately, in that time, we've got to struggle through it financially. So I'm now pulling money out of my other companies, particularly my chocolate company, and plowing it into the park, because I mean the elephants are a sort of a passion. They're never been a business to make lots of money. They've just been a passion I've had that I love doing. I love the elephants. I love the business, and I learned to love the village where we do it, where we've got several hundred people who rely on our company to survive. It was when we first went there, that village was one of the poorest villages in Bali. Now it's quite a wealthy village because more people come there. They've built businesses.
And all the attacks on you. I mean, I read about the scars on the legs of the elephants. That they claim that
was one of the silly things they came up with. Those scars were actually on their legs when they came, because when they were caught in Sumatra, they didn't use chains; they used ropes, and ropes burn. As you know, you get your wrist and do that to your wrist, it gets very hot. Well, ropes do that. They actually burn, and they leave quite a nasty scar. So many of the elephants who came had these scars around their legs. But that can be disproved instantly to show we didn't do that, because we've got 6 babies. 2 of them are 16 or 17 years old, and they haven't got a mark on their body of anything. No scars, no from anything at all, because they've been treated very, very well. And that's the way it is. No way we do anything that puts scars on them. But this, of course, was misinterpreted, and we put these terrible scars on them. And another thing that came with, they said, you don't have as many elephants as when you opened. And I said, no, because we've been open 30 years, and 2 elephants died of old age. 1 died of a heart attack, and 2 elephants we transferred to another park to help with their breeding. So things change in 30 years, like in your family, people die, people get born. It's a constant turnover. With the elephants, it's the same sort of thing. The other thing they said is, we hadn't rescued any elephants for
Since
uh,
2004. I read that.
since
Right.
2004. And
Yeah.
I said, no, of course we haven't. However, that still doesn't say, oh, you're not a rescue park anymore. Of course, we're still a rescue park. That's what we started as. That's what we are. We're a rescue park. My argument was, if a mother doesn't have a baby for 20 years, is she no longer a mother? Yeah.
Right. Right. Nigel, when you started, was your long-term goal to rescue these elephants and then perhaps send them back into the wild when the conditions would warrant that?
That's what we thought.
Yeah.
But we realized after a few years that was never, ever,
This
ever going
ain't
to
gonna
happen.
happen. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
places, Sumatra's too much of a mess. And
Yeah.
the oil plantations have multiplied dramatically in the
I know.
last 30 years,
Yeah.
massively. So there's no hope. The problem is there's little bits of forest, like little fragments here and
Yeah.
there. There is one place where there's a big area, but that's only one particular place. These little areas, the elephants, if they're in that little area, they destroy it very quickly because they're very destructive. And
Yeah.
then they have to move to another area, which means they've got to cross cultivated land. That's
Yeah.
when the problem starts,
Yeah.
and they
Well,
get
listen,
poisoned and trapped.
I was going to ask you whether it's been highly satisfying doing this, but you've just been through this incredibly tough time. For all the good that you've done on the planet, and to be criticized like this, I'm really sorry for you. But
Uh, Look, it's a life. I'm 82 years old. I've been through a hell of a lot in my life. This is just another drama. I take it on the chin and move on. I have a loving family. I have a beautiful wife and two fantastic boys. They're
yeah,
very dedicated to the business too. So
yeah,
I just say, look, guys, this is life. This is what the world has become. You have to wear it. You have to
yeah,
move on. Don't be bitter. Don't hate these people. They're
yeah,
they're they're just uninformed or misinformed, and
yeah,
you just have to wear it and move on. And we don't ride anymore. That's okay, fine. That's the way it is.
yeah,
We accept that, and we'll do everything we can to keep the elephants still exercise and happy and healthy. And the park is a beautiful place to visit anyway. I mean, it's like a landscaped botanical
it
gardens.
looks
We've got
fantastic.
beautiful facilities and restaurants and everything there. So that hasn't changed at all. The park is still, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful elephant parks in the world. So well worth visiting. Just because you can't ride an elephant anymore really doesn't change that. It's still a fabulous place, and the elephants are still just as beautiful as they were yesterday. Yeah.
Nigel, thank you so much for being on the podcast. More so, thank you so much for what you've done all these years, taking care of these elephants and showing such a deep level of compassion. I really
Thanks, Ted.
respect that, and
Appreciate
it's
it.
been my
Yeah,
pleasure to meet you.
well, if you're ever in Bali, just please come and be our guest. Love to see you.
I was there last year and I didn't know about your place, and I'm kicking
Oh,
myself, but
really?
I'll be back. I'll be back. Anyway,
Okay.
thank you so much for being on the podcast, Nigel.
Thank you so much. Yeah, been a pleasure.
That's it. Thanks for listening to Flanagan's Ecologic. We'll see you next time.